So I think ghosting essentially means that you do not want to communicate with this other person anymore. Some people do it more proactively, like unfriending someone, blocking someone on social media. Some people sort of like do it a little bit more passively. You're just not responding. You're not like even reading their messages. You let the messages accumulate in your social media account. So, but the bottom line is that you are stopping communication. Most people ghost to protect themselves, but we can elaborate and look at least 3 different types of self-protection. The first type is what I consider appropriate self-protection, meaning that you're coming across someone you suspect to have like maybe a severe personality problem, someone that's like disturbed, has a tendency to be like abusive or harassing. You do not really want to continue the relationship with someone. You want to protect yourself and maybe other people in your life as well. You ghost this person, and I think that is appropriate, and that is like a very rational, effective way of like drawing boundary and protecting yourself. The second type is a little bit like dubious, because like there are people who ghost not because that the other person is threatening, but because the person who ghosts is trying to avoid something, right? One of the things that is pretty typical in psychological counseling and psychotherapy that like we've come across is that people get into a relationship, and the more intimate you get in the relationship, the more you discover about yourself. And when you're about to face something that you do not accept about yourself, or you're being reminded of some very negative experience, like traumatic experience, being abused by your parents during childhood, you want to run away from that painful memory or recollection. You do not want to be reminded of certain interaction patterns or certain events that happened in your early life. So you choose to withdraw. So that is like another way of self-protection. Ghosting. There is an associated type, which is less common, but like I would say it is still not rare. It is like when people are getting increasingly involved in a relationship, they become aware that the relationship that they're moving into is overwhelming. Say, for example, someone finds that the relationship increasingly becomes the center of the person's life. This person that you're dating, right, is becoming more and more a subject upon which you are depending on psychologically and emotionally, and you do not like that. And you find that if I get more involved in this relationship, I become so dependent on this person that I'm going to lose my autonomy and even my sense of identity. So what do? I quit. So you move away from that. And in that kind of a situation, what it reflects is like, there's nothing wrong. Like I think like knowing your limits and deciding to leave in itself is not a bad thing. I want to emphasize that. But if you found yourself doing that, one of the things that you almost hold to yourself is to explore what part of you feels so vulnerable. Why aren't you prepared to take on such a powerful, overwhelming relationship? I think there must be reasons when you're attracted to this person in the first place. And when you have moved to a point when you start to feel uncomfortable, not because that this person represents any kind of threat, not because this person has done anything nasty to you, but you somehow feel uncomfortable and scared and you want to withdraw, then it is like more about you. And I think you should at least, look inside yourself and ask why, that I am withdrawn. We also have like the third type, which is like people who are like moving into this sort of ghosting situation almost by default. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about people who gradually lose interest You know how things can happen like this. Like you meet someone, you're excited, you get involved, sometimes like too quickly, and then after a short while, you started to experience like maybe boredom, lack of interest. You find that it's not really gratifying anymore, so you gradually lose interest. In this kind of situation, I think it is good for yourself to be able to make up your mind and say, hey, no, this is not for me, I'm out of here. I think that is totally fine. But when you have to ghost someone, I personally would recommend this to you, but like you may or may not want to do this. I think out of courtesy, at least, like you should communicate to the other person that you are not interested in taking this relationship further. I think that probably is like a reasonable thing to do. But obviously, some people find it difficult to bring themselves to saying this or communicating this to the other person because you think that it would be hurtful. I want to avoid this like difficult situation of like appearing to be hurting another person. I can totally understand that. And if you have done that in the past, I don't want you to feel shame or guilt, right? You're just being human here. But I think you need to understand more about, okay, why is it so difficult for me to say something if I have reason to believe that it might be hurtful to another person? Why is that so difficult for you? And I think exploring this question for yourself may turn out to be helpful, right? So if you're on the receiving end of being ghosted, the one thing that you should always do is keep telling yourself that you're worthwhile. So if anyone ghosted you, it doesn't mean that you're a problem. It doesn't mean that you're inadequate. It doesn't mean that you're like a unworthy person. As I have already explained, people have different reasons to be ghosting you. It may or may not have anything to do with you as a person. It has maybe more to do with what this other person is going through. You might be a wonderful person. You may be able to respond very well to this other person, maybe too well, as like one of the examples that I've given you. Like you may be like getting very close. You're getting this person to understand more about himself or herself to the extent that this person is no longer comfortable with this journey of self-discovery. So you might actually be a positive force in this person's life, but the person is not ready for it, right? So if you get ghosted, like the first thing you should do is like keep reminding yourself that you're worthwhile, right? Don't question your worth. But it is not a bad practice for you to at least try to figure out, okay, have I been doing anything inappropriate, right? Remember, even if the answer to that is yes, it still doesn't mean that you are a worthless person. It means that, one, you're a person who are actively seeking to understand yourself better. You're open to self-reflection, and if you discover what the reason was, you can actually do things, right, to remedy, to change that. And in any case, what we hope to see happening after being ghosted is that you become a better person. So that, I think, is our general recommendation. But of course, in the unlikely situation, and if you like watching this program and you belong to this first type of situation that I just described earlier, meaning that you discover you have done something that might be seen as intrusive or inappropriate or harassing, you might not be intentional when you did that. Now you realize, okay, oh, maybe the other person didn't take it well because like it could come across as, you know, not respecting his or her boundary, and I might have been insensitive in doing that. I think if you can come to this kind of reflection, I would say congratulations, it's good news. You have like improved your self-understanding, meaning that it is less likely that you'll be repeating the same behavior in your future relationships. And if you're a person who are capable of reflecting and learning from previous experience, then I would say you're one of those few people who have this amazing capacity of self-reflection, learning, change, and growth. And that in itself is a valuable personality attribute. You should congratulate yourself for it. So I've told you about some of the things that I wish you would do, right? But there's also something that I think we should all learn. Like when you're ghosted, don't force it, right? Don't try to create pressure on the other party and ask like, why did you ghost me? What have I done wrong? Never harass another person for ghosting you, right? That person must have good reasons. Like this may not be reasonable or fair to you, but when they did that, they must have good reason. If you have the capacity to accept that people can behave like that to protect themselves, that is a capacity that you have developed in yourself. So I would say, don't force it. Don't try to reach out and figure out why, or talk to this person's friends, what is happening. Those are the things that I wouldn't recommend. You should actually carry on with your life, focus on how you can make yourself better, how you can redesign your life so that you have a gratifying life filled with interest, filled with fun, filled with fulfillment, right? And obviously the transition can be difficult for some of us. You feel that I'm suddenly ditched for no reason, what the hell is happening? That is a very natural response. But still, take care of yourself, right? You no longer should rely on the other person to address your own needs. You have to take it on yourself. But you can mobilize support around yourself. You can talk to your friends. You can mobilize support from them. Do fun things with them. Get them to accompany you. Spend time and hang out, find things that are pleasurable to do and redefine and rediscover purpose in life. That is the recommendation that I would make to you.